Hey there, so today we have another battle beers, and this is between two Imperial Stouts from the Alchemist. We have here Beelzebub American Style Imperial Stout, 8%. This is Luscious British Style Imperial Stout, 9%, 9.2. So generally this style is actually a little bit bigger. A lot of commercial examples are over 10%, but they are still in the ABV range. And then the big question comes, what is the difference between American and British Style Imperial Stout? So American will generally be a little bit more roasty. It will also, just like other American beers, be hopped more. So more hopping, more bitterness, more aromatic hops. Here, the Luscious with a British style Imperial Stout might use a little bit more fruit forward English ale yeast. Also might have a little bit more complex malt quality instead of hitting you over the head with really dark, intense roasted malts. In general though, the guideline is not that strict about the two differences. It is very much up to the art of the brewer to sort of, make your distinguishable differences between these two beers, but they're not really that different. They're still Imperial Stout under beer judging certification. So let's dig into the first one. This is Beelzebub. Have it poured out already? Let's get the aroma. Oh, wow. You get big hoppiness. It's big earthiness and a little bit of pine. It's green. Underneath, there's a beautiful malt character, some cocoa. The sweetness of a little bit of licorice, dark chocolate. Smells awesome. Yeah, that's Beelzebub. And go check it out. This was listed as one of my favorite beers of 2017. Man, is it good. But first thing you notice is that this beer is well hopped. I think some Imperial Stouts can be overly hopped and too intense. This is on the line a little bit when it's fresh. Big smack of bitterness, big hop flavors up front. It has that earthiness I was talking about. What you're smelling is definitely there. A little bit of that earth and pine and forest character driving throughout. But then afterwards you get dark chocolate syrup, even like leaning towards a little bit of espresso. You get some acrid bitterness. It's rich. It's drying on the palate. And before it gets too roasty and acrid, if anything, the hops come in to sort of dry out the beer. So it's hops throughout, it's up front, it's also on the back end, and then you get that rich roasted malt quality in the middle. It drinks way above 8%. It just has so much character to it. It's absolutely delicious. And then we dig into the next one. Wow. It's so crazy that you think a brewery would produce two Imperial Stouts and they would taste and smell so different. I mean, it just smells like a completely different flavor profile. I don't know if they're using a different ale yeast strain. It's just so different. It's so much fruit. This one's moved on to now dates and rich raisin. It has this cherry cordial note. It's so much fruit for days, yeah. It's like chocolate cherry pie. Cheers. Yeah. That burst up front of a maraschino cherry cordial flavor is intense. It's so sweet. It's so fruity. And then the malts are so strained, but then on the back end you actually taste roasted malts. Whereas here it was more that kind of flavor profile that you'd push onto chocolate, coffee, dark chocolate. Here it's like actual like grains, roasted grains on your palate. Wow. There's a sugary sweetness up front that again sells that cherry flavor. If anything, this beer seems so much bigger. The profile is much more intense. It seems like it's a bigger beer, even though this one's the 8%, this one's the 9%, huh? That's so crazy. Nice and dry still. Some amount of hopping, but not as intense as this one. You really don't notice the hops on the experience. Instead, it's those dark fruit flavors coming from both the malt and the yeast, and then just this, again, more restrained roasted malt character. You taste grains, and you don't really taste those big, intense flavors. As I was saying, with the difference between American and British style Imperial Stout, you're going to taste it between these two. They're such different beers, and they really sell you on teaching you what the two differences between the two styles are. So again, they're not necessarily two different styles. They're under the same umbrella. They just may or may not have some differences. And Kimmick has really done a great job showing off how the two beers can be brewed differently. But we have a blend here, a cuvee. So we're gonna try this one. Mostly smells like Beelzebub. That's how big and aromatic that beer, the hops just dominate. Yeah, I just smell all this, barely in the fruit that came in on this one. Oh yeah. Oof, wow. That's awesome. In general, I will say that it's not an obvious great blend. You think it might be because this one is all the fruits and this one's all the hops, and you sort of combine them, they become amazing. Instead, they sort of just muddle out each other. This one I like because it has a transitioning to it. The hop flavors are up front. The hop flavors are in the middle. The big roast is in the middle. Now you sort of lost that. Here, this beer is a little bit more mild. Dark fruits for days, and that rich sweetness, now you've sort of lost that. Now you've sort of just made a lesser version of this, and you don't really taste this beer at all. So it's sort of, that's what's going on here. So, but do try it out. I think it is a cool blend, just not the best one out there. But as for my preference, I definitely prefer the Beelzebub, but both beers are absolutely delicious. I still believe that the best beers that the Alchemists produce are not Heady Topper Banger. It's Beelzebub and Crusher. So that's my vote, at least for the beers that I've had so far. So post in the comments below what you think the best beers that the Alchemist makes. But again, one of my favorite beers of 2017, the Beelzebub is absolutely insane. One of the best Imperial Stouts out there. Until next time, guys, cheers. Later. Ding for Beelzebub. Cheers. Later.